So today we're doing what we may call the yacht series on the Recruiting on the Rocks podcast. And so we have a bit of a unique location. We're in beautiful Wrightsville Beach on a more than wonderful, beautiful day. We are on the back of a yacht, which you may or may not be able to tell. And as always, we're going to taste bourbons. This time we're going to attempt to blind taste 3 of them at 3 different price points. My guest today is David Weiss, and you know, we've done a few of these now. They've kind of had a tech or healthcare or life sciences investor slant. And I thought, what a perfect time to have David on. David, I'm going to call you a boat designer. I know you call yourself different things, and we sometimes call you things,
depends on the day,
you know, that we shouldn't call you. But tell me a little bit about, you know, you've got a unique background, unique career. Talk about what you do.
Well, when I want to scare people, I call myself an arsonist of creativity.
Nice.
I tend to do things that nobody else is brave enough or stupid enough to try. As far as creativity goes, I was originally headed into being a car designer. I'm a car guy from way back, always will be. And long story long, I was planning to go to a car design school, found out I was going to be a big brother again, didn't want to show up to him and have him going, "Who the heck are you?" So I decided to go to a little design school down the road called NC State, which has turned out to be, apparently at the time was the number one, I don't know if it still is, but number one state design school in the country. And bumped into a guy right before I graduated. He saw my sketches and he said, "I like your stuff, you should design for me." And I said, "Okay, well, what do you design?" And he said, "Custom superyachts."
Yes, please.
Okay. I didn't know what to think, honestly. It was a little bit of a shock. You know, that's a non sequitur to be sure. And but you know, I thought, heck, I'll give it a try, and I'm still giving it a try 20 years later.
So, all right.
That's where I am.
I mean, once again, unique background. That's perfect. Talk a little bit about boat design. I mean, I think people say, "Hey, you design boats," but what does that really mean? I know you mentioned to me at one time you design everything above the waterline.
More or
but
less,
talk a little bit about what does that entail, and after that, I want to talk about boat design versus car design. But start there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I, you know, the job I do is very diverse depending on the project. Also depending on the size of the boat. You know, the smaller the boat, the more into the details you get generally. And you're right. Generally, for me personally in my career, I've been more above the waterline, and I have to deal with the underwater line people, and I've dealt with it enough that I can tell when there's going to be a problem and when there's not.
But you like it that way. You like.
But I prefer, because to me, you know, the movement of a shape, just like with cars, the movement of a shape, the form, the attitude, the detail, the proportion is really what gets me going, and some, you know, the feeling that hits you the first time you see a design is really a huge part of what I love about what I do, while also bringing a lot of avant-garde and unusual features to bear as well. So, but you know, with these vessels, you have the naval architects. Those are the underwater guys for the most part. They need to know what's happening with the water when it splashes and stuff like that and hits the hull and so on. So they're not just underwater guys, but they're mostly underwater guys. And then you have huge engineering teams. I mean, these big boats, these 150, 250 footers, will have engineering teams of 30, 40, 50 engineers just to do the engineering of the boat. So I'm more, if you want to think about it in an analog, I'm kind of like the architect. Okay. So I'm doing the rough sketches and figuring out the broad strokes of things, as well as figuring out how the flow of the inside of the boat and the deck, how the decks meet each other, making sure that we give the captain what he needs as far as visibility goes and that sort of thing, and whether or not there's going to be a helicopter on board or a touch and go on the front. And people laugh about there being a helicopter in the back and a helicopter in the front, but you wouldn't have a big house with one parking spot.
Yeah.
So it's you know, these things all sort of bubble up into what I do, and The biggest part of what I do, though, is reading people. You have to sit down with and really understand the person that you're dealing with, whether that's the owner of the boat or the owner of a shipyard, or whoever the stakeholders are. I get around the table as often and as deep as I can, as early as I can with every project, because these boats, by their nature, are unique. They wouldn't need me if they just wanted it off the rack.
Yeah, that's
the reason I'm there is more for the person even than the design. So, I'm a people first kind of guy, and my work philosophy in general is 2 steps. 1, find good people, because they still exist.
Yeah.
And hang on to them, and then make cool stuff. And in that order, and you can't get to step 2 without step 1 properly. So there's a lot of it that's psychology, reading people, understanding people, pulling somebody's, generally speaking, these projects are really personal and special. This is the place that somebody's been dreaming about for 10, 20 years, that this is going to be my getaway. This is going to be, my best expression of what I've built and what I want to, the message I want to send to the world. So you really have to get in there with people. And so it's psychology, it's architecture, it's sketches, it's conversations, and then shepherding that vision through the year or 2 or 3 or 4 years that it can take to build one of these vessels.
It's a fun challenge.
Yeah, it is.
All right, let's taste some bourbon.
Yep.
The crew may or may not have moved these around, so I don't really know what we're tasting, and I guess we'll have to try to figure out. But that kind of keeps it fun and light and interesting.
Good. Sounds good.
All right, let's do one. Cheers.
Do we go left to right?
You do whatever you want.
All right,
I don't think it matters.
Cheers.
Cheers. I still don't know which is which. So let's keep going on the design piece.
That was nice. I needed that after I-40.
After I-40 from Raleigh. Yeah. Talking about boat design, I mean, obviously a lot more cars on the road than boats, although sitting right here, it doesn't feel that way.
But humanity's been building boats for thousands of years before they ever built a car.
Good point. So besides that difference, and having a love of cars and doing that for a little while and knowing design in general, what are the big differences? And I know there's above, there's road versus water, and so there's a below and above, but what else? What are the big differences?
Well, aside from a very, very, very narrow set of, and this is true of boats as well, but aside from a very, very narrow set of vehicles, most cars have a massive amount of time and effort and hundreds of people that go into producing one single model. And that model is designed to appeal to thousands, if not millions of people. Whereas as a custom boat designer, what I'm doing is trying to develop something that's just for one person, not for millions of people in most of the projects we do. And so, that's obviously a major difference. Surprisingly, and this is one of the things that gave me a lot of hope for leaning into boat design, yacht design as a career, there's also a lot less red tape with boats. Nice. There's less, you don't have the bumper laws and pedestrian this, that, the other. There's plenty of regulations you have to abide by, but they tend to constrain what you can do a lot less in the boat space because you're just out in the big blue.
There's no airbags.
Generally not, yeah. Although I've been on some boat rides where I wish I had some airbags. But yeah, so you have, as a designer, as a creative, it actually has a lot more appeal in some ways, even though I'm a car guy and there's still a part of me that would go spend my whole career doing car design. I still sketch them all the time, and I've actually gotten to get involved in some car designs in the past, but I realized that this is a space that I'm going to actually be able to really have my own corner of the sandbox, much more so than if I was on a 20-person car design team somewhere tucked away behind a big brand or something like that. So
Okay. So if you had to do car design,
yeah.
what team would you want to be on?
Oh man, I have a lot of love for a lot of different teams, but I fell in love with McLaren back when they did the McLaren F1. Peter Stevens was the designer on that. Gordon Murray is the sort of the vision and the engineering, and my secret pre-car design dream was to be a fighter pilot. I had the Air Force Academy documents filled out and all that, and there was something like aviation-ish, like there's some airplane in that McLaren F1 as well as classic car design shapes and stuff, so I fell in love with that. And then fast forward to what Frank Stevenson did with the design, with the modern iterations of McLaren, with the P1 and so on, and that new DNA there. I really have enjoyed that, and I've actually gotten to work with the team there a little bit, and so I'll have to say probably McLaren, just because they've built a really beautiful DNA, but they don't follow the rules. So I like that. And that speaks to me.
I like how you added planes. We had cars and boats. Now we've added planes in as a third leg of
anything that goes and makes noise and puts smiles on faces, I'll get involved with.
Fair enough. All right, you ready for round two?
I am.
That first one got you to Newton Grove, North Carolina. This will get you the rest of the way down
all
I-40
right, good,
for the second
good.
one.
Cheers.
I don't think anybody's disliked any of them. I think everybody's liked all of them.
I've enjoyed both of those. This is a lot easier drinking. This is like a pale ale compared to my first one there. So
Fair enough.
Yeah, and as a result, I would guess this guy has probably got a little more firepower, and this is maybe lower on the. I could be wrong, but I guess that's lower on the shelf.
I don't know if it's right, but I would agree with it.
We'll find out.
I would agree with
We'll
that.
find out.
All right, so can't have a podcast without talking about AI.
Of course.
How does that play into your work? Where is it headed? How's it playing into your industry? What is it everywhere? Is it just getting rolling? Are you all over it?
How long you got?
You've got 2 minutes.
I was fascinated by it. I tend to be an early adopter. Like I've said, I like things that are unusual. I like things that are interesting. I like things that are fresh. If you want a boat that looks like that one, but with a little bit of a different flair on the top or whatever, I'm not generally going to be your guy unless you want me for some specific reason. So I tend to do stuff that's a little bit more aggressive and different and recognizable. But the dabbling I did early on with AI, it was interesting, but it was not relevant, and I sort of left it alone. I saw a lot of people playing with it for a while. I had sort of gone for a little swim with it, and it was just like, it's kind of wild and interesting, but not something that has any level of predictability, and I need to be able to control what I do in order to have a relevant deliverable. And so I took a probably 4 to 6 month break, which in AI world is dog years. So I jumped back in. I have a friend who's on an advisory board with a AI tool that's designed specifically for transportation design, car design, boat design, etc. Okay. And he said, I think you really should try this. And I tried it, and it was better, but still wasn't great. And then he reached out again, said, now try it. And my gosh, I went from not using AI at all about a year before to using it every day, pretty much. Okay. Well, largely because one of the biggest challenges in my world is iteration and getting some believable renderings in that you can drop the design into the environment. Water is horribly difficult for rendering and imaging machines, and they have millions of particles and has to calculate what all those particles are doing, et cetera, whereas AI just looks at all the other videos and such of water and says, all I need are the pixels on this one image or this one video, That's it. I don't have to do all the potential calculations and so on. So you get incredibly real and believable environments for your designs a lot faster. So that really, I still use all of my tools, but I call it AI sandwiching, because I start with hand sketches and that sort of thing, and then pop into AI for just getting some color on there, and then back into, once I land on something there, back into some CAD and some heavy lifting and some 3D and so on. And then once I've got that done, then back in to get some environments around it and that sort of thing. So it's the world will never go back unless something crazy happens. It's definitely impacting my industry, but as you can imagine, with an industry as old as the one I'm in, humanity, like I said, humanity's been building boats for thousands and thousands of years. There's a lot of old guard in the industry that you say that word, AI, they run for the hills.
They're purist.
It's a purist. The argument is that it's a purist thing. The argument is that you just can churn things out that look realistic, but we'll never be able to build, which is true. But that means getting even more sharp in your own skill set. Like somebody like me that's got 2 decades of working with this kind of thing, I can get results from working with AI visual tools that look pretty great, but I can tell you right away that's not going to work. That's not going to play ball, and this is why. And so you have to get more literate in many ways for the customer, for the clientele, because the clientele and the customer and the client, they're seeing all these amazing looking things now from every angle. And so you have to put on your educator hat and sort of say, yes, this looks great, but let me sort of unpack for you why this will work and this won't, etc. So as with any new thing, there's a lot of educating. I'm trying to stay within a reasonable stretch on the bleeding edge of it without going crazy, because there's so much happening in that space. And there's a lot of people jumping into being a yacht designer and that sort of thing because they can make things that look very interesting. And to me, I don't mind it. I don't see it as a threat. I think just like any new tool, you're going to get a lot of people jumping in and trying stuff, and the best stuff always bubbles to the top, and it's a good reason for me to keep my nose to the grindstone and stay sharp, etc. And it also is something that, because of how fast you can iterate, you actually get to see a lot more quicker, and you, rather than slaving away trying to make one realistic rendering, you can have 20, and you're actually just talking about the design and getting to a better design, rather than, well, I don't really like that shot. It's not very believable, or that, when that's actually the better design. So you can bring a design, all these different designs that you're putting in front of somebody who's a decision maker, at an equal playing field, all of them with fantastic execution. So you end up talking about design more than you talk about, well, I don't know, this is a weird shot or whatever. So as a result, that's a great part of it. But it also, right now, it's just, there's so much buzz about it. People ask, well, is this AI, or is this rendering AI? Is this one, like, they're just tools. They're just design tools, just like anything. And it also only has, AI for anything only has a rearview mirror to operate from. It can't see the future. It can't put sort of weird cross-pollination design components together. As soon as I try to push it into the kind of design corners I want to go in, it screams for mercy. Like, I have to say, you have to do this. I've designed it, I've sketched it, I've done the 3D model. Don't try and change it to a traditional thing. It still will. It's just, it fights, and so, it's just something that it's a fascinating thing. It takes a massive amount of oxygen, in the conversations and stuff. But it is to some extent rightly so, because it is a massively different kind of tool that's a lot more powerful in places where our digital tools as boat designers and designers in generally have struggled a lot. And so it's sort of removed some of the friction that some people might argue should have been there to keep the noise out, but for better or worse, that friction's gone, and so you got to play ball with people that just showed up yesterday, and you got to play better ball than them.
It's interesting. And it makes complete sense. Yours is a little unique in that, so like our resident AI expert, Robbie Allen, great entrepreneur, great guy. I'll ask him, hey, is it possible to do this with AI? And he's like, as I always tell you, anything is possible. In your world, designing, the sketches or the early stuff, anything's possible. But in yacht design, that doesn't mean you can build it. And it might not, it might not float, no pun intended.
Well, I tell people, designing boats, any size, whether it's a kayak or a yacht, you've got to go up against the other 70% of the Earth's surface and win. And that's not easy.
Yeah.
You there's always a bigger wave, just like there's always a bigger fish.
Yeah.
And so,
nice.
Yeah, you really, it's something where you still have to stay really sharp and sober, but if you ignore these fresh tools, you'll also be in trouble. So you got to balance it out.
Let's change gears a little bit, and then we're going to taste our third bourbon, and then we're going to change gears again, have some little fun here to end it out. Good. If you're a design student, if you look at design as a career for people coming up, right? And even people you may recruit to be on your team if you're looking for a junior designer tomorrow. This is kind of near and dear to my heart. One of my sons is an industrial designer, as you know. What advice would you, is a career in design still good? Would you tell people still, hey, what advice would you give them? What about senior designers? Do they stay in it? What's your advice?
Well, I'll go back to what I was saying earlier. It challenges somebody like me who's been in it for a long time to really stay sharp. Like, I have a lot of old school visualization capabilities that are still helping me today, but I don't lean on them nearly as much. And they also don't differentiate me as much as they used to. So as a result, I have to kind of get clear, and this is something I would say to a senior designer who's been in the game for a long time, or somebody who's just freshman in design school headed into their first serious design class. You have to be more clear about what differentiates you from everybody else than you ever have had to be before, because everybody's getting really good tools. So just being good at sketching, or just being good at visualization, or having an okay eye on a decent proportion for a design or something, generally is not going to bubble you to the top anymore as a designer.
Right.
So as a result, finding those singularities in yourself, and generally speaking, the best way to do that is to look and figure out what gets you out of bed in the morning more so than anybody you know. Like, there's something that's different about every human, and I'm a huge believer that everybody's different. But you got to slow down enough to look at yourself in the mirror and go, what makes me tick that's special and different? And I guarantee if you spend long enough, you'll find it. And then put a lot of time and energy around that thing, whatever that is, because like I said, everybody's got really good tools now.
Yeah.
I can do stuff on my phone that would have blown my mind, melted my brains when I was in design school. And as a result, I need to get sharper on articulating what I bring to the table more than I ever have before. So yes, it's still absolutely, the world needs beauty. Humanity has to have a significant amount of beauty in their diet, whether that's a setting like this, whether it's a beautiful book, whether it's some innovation that's a beautiful, insight in through a tech thing,
bottle.
A beautiful bottle. We need that beauty, so we've got to keep, designers and creatives, we need more of them than ever before. But in order to get traction in your career, you need to be able to tell a story about why you stand out from the crowd in a major way.
Okay. All right. Let's taste this third one.
Yep.
Cheers.
Cheers. I've got a story for you on that.
Glad we did that.
I kept a little bit of this one.
So you could continue to compare.
Yep.
Smart. All right. You ready? We're going to end on some fun.
Great.
In no particular order. Your favorite boat, favorite yacht?
That I've done?
Well, we're going to talk about your favorite design project ever. Maybe I should have started there, but.
Gosh.
And you might say my boat is my favorite one.
No, I have a lot of favorite. I mean, I have one of the ways to do what I was talking about is staying sharp and fresh is to stay inspired. And I have on every computer, on every device I own, I have an inspiration folder that has tens of thousands of images, and they're pretty much none of them are mine.
Okay.
And whenever I start to feel a little bit like writer's block or something like that, I'll go hunting for fresh inspiration and stuff. So there's a lot of amazing boats out there that my friends and colleagues have done. I was just talking a few minutes ago about Breakthrough, which is a new hydrogen fuel cell powered boat that is really amazing because at a distance it looks relatively classical. But as you get closer and closer, it has these incredible surfaces that twist and wind over all the different components of the boat. And it's a boat that you appreciate more and more the closer you get to it. And it's called Breakthrough. Another one that I really love, more for the proportion of it, just because it has this long nose like a Jaguar E-Type, and then the superstructure is all tucked together at the back of the boat, called Bravo Eugenia. It's Jerry Jones' boat, the Cowboys. That one's just got this great sort of faceted superstructure, long nose, and a nice trim transom.
That's your McLaren.
Yeah. It's just got the proportions like that boat from 2 miles away. It's still that boat, whether you know it or not. That's unmistakable. So those two boats are really fun.
All right. So, favorite design project ever?
Oh man, I would say, the joke is it's like choosing your children, but that's not true. There's a lot of really fun stuff that I did a 170-foot boat once that was so boring, and the guy just wanted a similar boat to another one we'd done, and he wanted taller ceilings, so he just made the whole boat look fatter. So I don't love that boat. Ironically enough, a boat with the same shipyard called Galactica Star, 65-meter, 212-foot boat, was a really exciting project. I moved over to Europe to there was a design shootout with another designer, and we had to sort of prove that we had the metal because the other designer had built bigger boats and so on. And I came in, I moved over there, emergency, special visa situation, and we were working long hours, and we worked 6 weeks straight just to do the first proposal. And at one point, I was walking after a drink with my boss at the time, Frank, and he said, and we stopped at a little watch, store window. It was after it had closed, and we were looking at the watches in the window, and we're designers. We were just nerding out about the designs. I found one I really liked. I said, I better watch out on that one. I might buy it if I'm not careful. He said, if we win this project, I'll buy it for you.
Nice.
And that's the watch.
That's what I was about to say. Is that it?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good answer.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Largest boat designer, was that it? Was that the
No,
212?
that one's the largest one that I've been involved with the build of so far is a 73-meter called Yala. It's Sierra, and it's actually the same parent company as this boat, Ferretti.
Okay.
And that one is another favorite. It's tough with that one because that one there wasn't quite as much fighting and drama around it. It was sort of in motion already, but that one's a really beautiful boat. It has that long bow that I talked about, and some really fun stuff there. But that's the biggest one that I can talk about right now. I'm working. The biggest one I've been asked to design is over 170 meters. Yeah. So that's a monster. The family had a boat that was well over 100 meters, and they've used it for a long time, and they wanted to do a properly big upgrade because they figured out how to use that boat, and they knew they needed something really, really big. So that, I think, is ironically, the guy that I was up against on that other story, I think he's won that project. But it was an interesting one. But I'm working on right now a really interesting project for another family. It's 115 meters. That's going towards, I think, correct me in the comments, but it's just under 400 feet. And they want something with some classical proportions, but with some Star Wars sort of Naboo Royal Starship inspired shapes and surfaces and things, and
that'll be fun.
That's been really, really fun so far. Yeah.
All right, last one.
Yep.
Your favorite bourbon?
Well, it's got to be a boat thing, right?
I see what you did there. Yes, I guess it does.
I love all kinds of different bourbons, and I'm actually a big Scotch guy too. So I joke that my first friend when I moved to Europe was Johnny Walker Red Label, but I love Jefferson's Ocean. It's they take those
barrels
barrels out to sea and really. And they've done blind tests and stuff, and it really does. It's a very different profile. It's got a lot of caramelly elements to it, but it's not too sweet.
Yeah. And it's accessible, which is nice. You can get it.
Yeah. You can get it almost anywhere now. It didn't used to be as widely available, but I get it almost anywhere now. So that's good.
Hey, I appreciate it. This
Absolutely.
was fun. I hope it was good for you. I hope it was fun.
Great.
And
yeah,
thanks
absolutely.
for being here, and thanks to y'all. Thank you.
Enjoyed
it.
Absolutely.
At the end of every episode of Recruiting on the Rocks, we like to highlight a nonprofit, a charity that we can give a little exposure to, an easy way to give back to the community. In this episode, we would just like to highlight the Invictus Project.